I was the only kid in my 5th grade class who needed glasses, and I absolutely needed them because I couldn't see anything. And if you are a lifelong wearer of glasses, you know what I mean. You wake up in the morning and you can't do anything until you put your glasses on. Well, in the year 2000, Tom Hanks was in the movie Castaway. And it really was frightening to me because I thought if I was ever in that situation, I'd be gone right away. I couldn't tell the difference between a soccer ball and a coconut. And I realized I've got to get my vision fixed. And I got laser eye surgery, and for the first time, I ended up being able to wake up in the morning and see where I was going, and I literally had 20/20 vision. I still don't know if I'd survive as a castaway, but at least I'd be able to see the coconuts. Well, at any rate, we're going to be talking about what it means to have 20/20 vision as it relates to your spiritual life and your relationship with God. I'm convinced that so many times our view of ourselves is distorted. We're blind. At best, we see in a very blurry way the way God sees us. And the only one who really sees us clearly is our Creator. And so it's critical for us to really begin to pray, God, help me to see myself as you see me. And here's a passage I'd like to read. It's out of the first chapter of Ephesians. And it reads this way: it's in Christ that we find out who we are and what we are living for. Long before we first heard of Christ and got our hopes up, He had His eye on us. He had designs on us for glorious living. Part of the overall purpose He is working out in everything and everyone. You know, I love to read those words. Long before we heard of Christ, He had His eye on us and His designs for us. And you know, you may have been in scenarios in your life where people have said things about you. Maybe you had a coach, or even when you're a mom or dad who would say you'd never amount to anything. A brother or sister who said you were stupid, and then you start to think of yourself that way. And an ex-boyfriend or an ex-spouse who said, you know, you were a loser, and you start to think of yourself that way. And maybe life experiences have made you question who you are. But you know what? God says something very powerful about you, and that's that you are valued. And so no matter what others have said, somewhere we need to begin to get a hold of the fact that we can only see who we are through Christ. And as we look at Christ, we understand that we are absolutely valued in His sight. And so make this your prayer: God, replace any part of my perception about me that is inconsistent with how you see me. Let's read together out of Ephesians 2, verse 10. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Here's another version of that. For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus, so we can do the good works He planned for us long ago. You're God's handiwork. You're God's masterpiece. Do you believe that? Because if you do, you'll never question your value again. You begin to see that your identity is in Christ, and you say, well, how can I be God's masterpiece since I've messed up so much in my life? Well, the people who Paul was writing to, these weren't angels. These weren't perfect people. These were just people like you. And they were messed up, but they were still considered God's masterpiece. And if you're sitting next to someone, just look over at them and just say, I may be messed up, but I'm still valued. Or get on the phone with a friend, say, I may be messed up, but I am still valued. And here's how much. Here's how much you're valued. In 1 Corinthians 6, we read these words: you do not belong to yourself, for God bought you with a high price. The price that God paid for you, that's what tells you how much you're worth. I remember as a paper boy, as a young boy, that was my first job, and I was always looking through the coins. I was looking for pennies. I was looking particularly for one, a 1909 SVDB. That was the magic penny, and that was worth many, many hundreds of dollars. Recently, I looked online, and it's worth about $5,000 in good condition right now. But really, it's only a penny. But what makes it worth $5,000 is what someone is willing to pay for it. Well, God was willing to pay the blood of his son, Jesus Christ, for you. And that is what makes you valuable. And so your value is determined by what someone is willing to pay for you. And that, if anything, to just fill you with such a peace and a realization that in your relationship with God, he loves you so much. He's given his all for you. And that makes you completely valued in his sight. And it begins to wash away, as you begin to see yourself as he sees you, the negative things that others have said, things that can be very cruel, and things that no matter how much you try to talk yourself out of can really sear their way into your thinking. And so it's a great time in your life to say, God, help me to see myself as you see me. In Galatians 4, it says, you can tell for sure that you're now fully adopted as his own children. Fully adopted, fully loved, fully accepted, and fully valued. When my grandson runs into the room, he jumps into my lap. He doesn't say, hello, Mr. Kricher, because he knows I love him unconditionally and I value him. That's how God is with you. Just open up your heart to him. Love him. And this is a good week to just begin to say, God, open up my eyes. Help me to see things 20/20 the way you see me. And begin to say these words every day. I am valued.